Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of Executive Cabinet Member for Transport, Highways and Housing. Let's start with the agenda item 1, which is monitoring of Executive Cabinet Member decision in closed.
Yeah, this is just to note, Councillor Karama, or anybody can ask questions on it, but it is pretty much up to date. I think we've got it pretty much up to date. Councillor Hewitt wants to ask a question there.
Councillor Hewitt.
Thank you, Chair. Just on the monitoring report, the note on page 4 at the 23rd of the 8th, 23, the highway framework contract 24 to 28, it just says procurement's underway, contract to start in October. I just wondered how the mobilisation or the pre-mobilisation was going with that. Has it commenced yet, and is it all to plan?
Duane, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so we are currently evaluating the tenders at the moment, Councillor. So we're hoping to award that literally in days, hopefully. And that's I think it's a 3 year plus another 2 year extension, so up to 5 year kind of framework. But we will be able to announce the successful contractors over the next weeks anyway.
Thank you, Duane. If no question, we can move to the second item, which is Housing and Community Safety Financial Monitoring Report.
I think Lynn's here for that.
Yeah, it's me. Good morning. So this is the Q1 position for housing and community safety. Housing is showing a balanced budget once we've made a movement from reserves of 490. Community safety is balanced when we move 44 to reserves. The capital budget for housing is 230k. Then there's the reserves, which is projected to be 7.299 by year end. Table 2.1 gives changes in the budget from the start of the year to the end of Q1. There was some redirection budgets, but they've been all taken out of the adults budget. Table 2.3 gives a breakdown of the financial position for both housing and community safety. The 4 is a breakdown of the reserves, and this report is just recommending that you note the projected financial position of the portfolio as at the 31st of March and note the revenue budget changes in year. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Lynn. Any question? No question. Thank you, Lynn. And report is to be noted. 1 second. Moving to the next item, which is Bertha Street Halliwell proposal traffic orders. Duane, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so this is a report requesting the introduction of a traffic regulation order to introduce parking restrictions. Now, I have delegated powers to introduce parking restrictions around the borough unless we receive objections, and then it comes to you as our cabinet member to approve. So these are very straightforward parking restrictions. They've come at the request of residents and the ward councillors, where we've got parking close to junctions, which is impeding emergency vehicles and our refuse vehicles and other road users. So we'd just like to introduce some junction protection, because you shouldn't be really parking within 10 metres of a junction anyway, because of because it's a road safety issue and it can cause problems for sight lines. So all the request is, and it's supported by the ward councillors. We have had one objector because it will displace vehicles, as these things always do. When you introduce parking restrictions, it will displace vehicles elsewhere on the network, but they shouldn't be parking within 10 metres of that junction anyway. The financials are all in the report. It will be covered by the ward forum monies, and the councillors, the ward councillors, are all in approval of this. So it was really just to request approval of the report, please, councillor, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Duane. Councillor Hayes.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I don't have a problem with the principle here, but it's a general comment I'd like to make. What are we doing to try and strengthen our enforcement? Putting regulations in all over the borough. I'm fortunate enough or unfortunate enough to live next to a secondary school, and the parents now just come as early as they can to get the best places on the yellow lines, because they know that the chance of it being enforced is minimal. Are we doing anything about improving the enforcement? Otherwise, I think we're wasting our time with a lot of these orders, to be honest.
Duane?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So, I mean, obviously, as you pointed out there, Councillor, people are knowingly parking illegally. If they're parking on double yellow lines, and they are risking a fine. We do have enforcement officers, but obviously our CEOs, our civil enforcement officers, can't be everywhere all at once. We have lots of mobile. We've just gone into a new contract as well. We've got a full cohort of civil enforcement officers at the moment, but they can't possibly everywhere at once. We do monitor the schools, and we do an awful lot of enforcement. But if there's any particular schools or any particular locations where you'd like me to send you some of the statistics, just to demonstrate what PCNs, what penalty charge notices we have been issuing, I'm more than happy to do that. If there's any particular routes where you've got concerns over a lack of enforcement, I'll be able to tell you the schedule and how frequently those places are visited. Thank you.
Off the top of my head, Duane, yes, Smithles School and Church Road School are two immediately. More important than just the visits is how many notices are issued. I mean, about a couple of years ago, one poor guy on a moped arrived. He shifted some who moved up the road. He then went up there and they came back, and he finished up not issuing a single notice. And every day there's at least 100 parked on yellow lines around Smithles School. Now, I know it's a problem. I know cash is a massive issue here. But if you could send me some figures about those two schools to start with, very much appreciated.
No problem. Sue, I'm not sure. Did you manage to record those, or would you mind, Councillor? Would you mind sending me an email just with those specific locations? Because I didn't get
yes,
the.
Yeah, I think it was Smithles School and Church Road School, wasn't it?
Thank you. If you don't mind following it up, Councillor, and then I'll respond back with those very specific statistics. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of comments. First of all, these are very welcome in Horwich South and Blackrod. The most frustrating thing is it's taken 6 years. I wasn't even a councillor when these traffic restriction orders were first put forward by my former colleagues. And I do thank Duane for taking this up when we brought it to his attention, and it has moved along at pace since then. But the sheer amount of delay in getting these traffic restriction orders, which were fully paid for and costed from the area forums, it's just been ridiculous. And it's those sort of efficiencies that really need to be fixed. I would also like to point out that, particularly in today's context, is that this shows the importance of ward members being able to directly influence issues surrounding their communities through the area forums monies, which is why it is vitally important that those funds are still available for ward members to act as and when residents are required to. If that pot of money goes, we will no longer have that ability to work on the residents' priorities. So it's important that those funds are still available. I'm really pleased that these are finally coming ahead. Do we have any estimates when people are going to start painting them? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grant. Duane?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm not sure, Councillor, if is it the birth because I've got another report to present next for Horwich and Blackrod. So we're going to come on to that. And there's several locations across Horwich and Blackrod. We will as soon as those are approved, assuming they will be approved in the next few minutes, then we will place that order with the lining contractor. And we will endeavour to get, weather permitting, obviously, it's not been the driest few weeks, but weather permitting, we'll get the lines down as soon as possible.
You see, Duane, I was that excited about it and I was jumping the gun.
I know, I know. We'll come on to that one next.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Hewitt.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it's the next report, Councillor Grant. For that one. No, I was just going back to the monitoring report. I know it's been noted, but it also mentioned on there the procurement of the civil enforcement agent, and I just wondered. I remember at the time when we discussed it at sort of scrutiny, and I think at this meeting we were asking around sort of their service level agreements, and whether they were going to be keeping to them and whatnot. So it would be, I mean, I think I might send you a couple of locations as well, Duane, where we discussed at the time around school school location enforcements, but it would be good as well to just see the overall picture of their performance from the new civil enforcement contractor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Duane.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor. That's it's an interesting point. So we have got the scrutiny programme established for this year. We are bringing the NCP contract and all the KPIs around the NCP contract to a meeting next week. So it's certainly something to consider for next year's programme, because we've got an awful lot of key performance indicators, which are actually meeting and exceeding in some places NSL at the moment, since we've been in the new contract with them since April this year. So I'd be more than happy to pull together some slides and present that at scrutiny next year and next programme, if you thought that was a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no more question, a report is noted and approved.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry, 1 second. Next item is again Horwich Area Traffic Regulation Order. Duane, again, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So this is similar to the last report, and as we've heard, obviously the ward councillors are extremely supportive of this one. So, but this is a much wider traffic regulation order, and as Councillor Grant has alluded to, there's an awful lot gone into this traffic regulation order. We do try to put as much into, because they're expensive to seal, and the legal aspects of it. So we do try and put as much in as possible. This one has taken some time together, and there has been some toing and froings over some of the locations, and we have received objections again, purely on the basis that it displaces traffic. Displaces parking, sorry, for some of the residents. Now, it is important that we put these parking restrictions at these locations for the reasons that I alluded to in the last report, around sort of road safety, around parking around junctions, around our refuse vehicles, around emergency vehicles access. And this, again, is a lot of junction protection, and people shouldn't be parking within 10 metres of a junction anyway, but we will be, obviously by having the parking restrictions, we will be able to enforce on that in the future. The financials are in the report as well. Yeah, so I won't go through all the locations because there's quite a few on here, but if you have a look at the plan, it's very clear all the locations are on there. I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Duane. Councillor Grant.
You on mute, Councillor.
You're on mute. You're on mute.
Apologies. I think it's important to note that I think there's about 40 or 50 TROs. I think still it's quite a massive amount, and there's only been 2 objections, which just shows the support for these locally, and that the ward councillors were on point when they did the consultation 6 years ago. So it's important that these go ahead, and I'm really pleased. And I'll apologise for jumping in on the Halliwell one, and I look forward to see them being painted soon, weather permitting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grant. Councillor Hayes.
Yes, thank you. A point of a question, really. We mentioned difficulty with refuse collection. Do we regularly get reports from that department if there are collections missed because of traffic problems and obstructions? I know it goes on the website, but do they actually liaise with highways to say we've got to pull them at this location because of parking?
Duane.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yes, Councillor, absolutely. So we're contacted around refuse vehicles. Also, I mean, it can be more pertinent in the evenings as well, around our gritter drivers for some of these areas. So our gritter drivers will also report parking on the network where it impedes some of the access for all those vehicles. So yeah, we do receive complaints through our street care inbox from colleagues in neighbourhood services if there's been any issues with access. Yeah.
Right.
And also the residents will be contacting their ward councillors if their bins are missed. So we normally get it from two kind of areas.
Thank you, Duane.
Councillor Hewitt.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just building on that point, I know of other authorities that around winter gritting and around bin collections, time restrictions on particular roads. So you know roughly when a bin collection is going to happen on a particular street, on a particular date or day of the week, so that they time their restrictions. So rather than a blanket ban, I mean, I've just been looking at the schematics for the Horwich and Blackrod restrictions, and you're literally painting the town yellow, Councillor Grant. I think there's over 80 or so different WL lines, but rather than blanket sort of like no parking restrictions, I don't know whether or not there are timed restrictions or daily restrictions that you could implement. I don't know if you can tie up with your colleagues from the, where, and so use some intelligence from missed bin collections to where the reason is because of access restrictions. I don't know whether that could be explored.
Thank you, Councillor Hibbert. Duane, you want to come on this?
Thank you, Chair. So the junction protection, the WL lines, we don't, but we can put in a single waiting lines, which have, especially in residential areas, will only enforce those between 8 AM and 6 PM to allow residents to park there in the evenings when there's less problematic. So certainly this single yellow lines with waiting restrictions, and that can be more specific within our guidance. We can 8 till 6 is a standard, but they can be from 7 till 7, or there's different options within the regulations that we can choose. But we do use the single yellow lines in areas where it is extremely problematic for access during the day, but it can allow residents to park there in the evening.
Thank you, Duane.
Yes, thank you. Just to come back, yeah, no, it'd be useful to explore the different permutations, where especially matched with that, just so that residents aren't too impacted, but services can get access. But yeah, thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no further question, report is noted and approved as recommended.
Thank you.
And that concludes our meeting. Thank you, everyone, for attending. And
thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you,
Thank you,
Councillors.
Chair. Thank you. Thanks, members.